Welcome back, everybody, to another cryptocurrency news article. This one comes out of Decrypt, and solo Bitcoin miner solves block with hash rate of just 10 terahashes a second, beating extremely unlikely odds. So, yeah, this is very unlikely to happen, but it does happen. It really does show the probabilistic design of Bitcoin, because, even though there's a ton of big pools out there that are usually the more dominant winners, and then they share that block rewards with a pool. But when just one solo miner does do it, it's pretty rare, and it's and it's nice to hear about. I remember at one time, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, we were hearing couples of stories happen for solo miners for solving the block, and it was like, what, crazy. But it hasn't happened since, or that I've heard of in that time. But it's happened again, so let's hear about it. A solo Bitcoin miner with an average hashing power of just 10 terahashes a second won the race to add block 7.72.793 to the Bitcoin blockchain on Friday. At the time the block was added, Bitcoin's total hash rate was just over 269 exahash per second, meaning the solo miner's 10 terahashes a second hash rate represented just 0.000000037% of the blockchain's entire computational power. But put it simply, it was extremely unlikely for win for this to happen for this individual miner. But congratulations, miner, with the address 1CEMKQ, who solved it. But despite the odds stacked against them, the solo miner was the first to produce a valid hash for the block to be mined. In return, the miner received 98% of the total 6.3593923 Bitcoin allotted for the block reward and the fees. The remaining 2% went to Solo CK Pool, an online mining service that facilitates individual mining. Now, Bitcoin's randomness and probabilities coded for luck and work. To add a block to a proof of work blockchain like Bitcoin, the miner must be the first to calculate a valid hash for the block, which can only be discovered using brute computational force. Mining machines run an encryption algorithm to produce a hash that falls below a threshold specified by the network. If the algorithm produces a value that is above the hash target, the miner tries the algorithm again with a slightly altered input to produce a completely new value for the hash. Miners built specifically to perform this function are able to compute trillions of unique hashes each second. However, even if a miner's machine were able to only produce one hash per second, it is theoretically possible that the algorithm's first output could be a valid hash to solve the block. Now, what were the odds? The chances of adding a block as a solo miner are determined by the number of hashes the miner rig is computing per second in relation to the total number of hashes that all of the machines on the network are computing each second. But according to the post from Willie9974 on the Bitcoin Talk forum, less than an hour after block 772,793 was solved, the lucky solo miner had an average hash rate of just over 10.6 terahashes in that previous hour. But the information posted on Bitcoin Talk also revealed that the 10 terahashes a second was the combined power of four machines called workers. This suggests that the solo miner rig was likely made up of four USB stick Bitcoin miners, which can individually achieve a hash rate of around 3 terahashes a second and cost roughly $200 each. But using the difficulty level included in the block, and assuming the solo miner's rig was computing at the 10 terahashes, it is possible to calculate the total estimated hash rate as 269,082,950 terahashes a second at the time of the block was solved. But based on this, the odds of the solo miner being the first to solve the block with a valid hash are 1 in 26.9 million. So those are the odds. Statistically, that means that if the same circumstances were repeated infinite times, the solo miner would add the block around about that 0.0000037% of the time on average. But unlikely, but not impossible, and this has happened before. While the scenarios was extremely unlikely, similar was once in a lifetime events in the Bitcoin mining have happened before. 1 year ago, in less than 2 weeks, there were 3 different solo miners that saw blocks with improbable hash rates. The third hash rate was apparently just 8.3 terahashes a second, in comparison to the estimated 190,719,350 terahashes a second for the total hash rate, which comes to 1 in 23 million of a chance of it happening. A hash is either valid and thus solve the block, or it isn't. There is no strategy involved, as the entire system is based on the random generation of hash values and the response mechanisms of the network to maintain core probabilities. Bitcoin runs on code and formulas, so a solo miner somehow solving the next 4 blocks is perfectly possible within Bitcoin's mathematical system. Now, mining pools remain the usual winners. Anecdotes about solo miners like these could end up introducing a new hobby to the ever hopeful. However, the vast majority of blocks added to the Bitcoin blockchains today have been produced by large pools of mining rigs that combine their hashing power and share the earnings. In doing so, each miner's contribution is rewarded proportionally each time the pool mines a block. Now, accordingly to a blockchain explorer and mining pool BTC.com, the largest Bitcoin mining pool is currently Foundry USA, with its collective 90.19 exahashes a second computing power, making up 31.3% of the Next's total hash rate, which means they earn a share of the block rewards and fees for 1 in every 3 blocks on average. Now, mining pools date back to 2010 and have steadily captured greater shares of the hash rate distribution year over year as mining difficulty has increased and mining technologies improved. Today, at least 98% of Bitcoin miners online belong to a mining pool. So, yeah, so that's a nice little story there. It's like it could be a nice little hobby just to run. Like, it could happen. The odds are very, very slim, 1 in 3 million, but it still is probable. But the winners still securing the network are the mining pools out there, which make up at least 30%, and they share the pools again, like 1 every 3 blocks is on average in their numbers for mining. But yeah, it's a pretty cool story. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if so, hit that thumbs up for me, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, the Crypto Sherpa is out.